Hey everyone, this is Kevin from thechesswebsite.com, and today we're going to be continuing our middle game strategies and tactics videos. I had a lot of requests in the last video that I need more middle game strategies and tactics, that's really helping you guys out as far as gaining your knowledge in chess. And so, as many of you know, I try to make my videos based on recommendations and requests, and so that's what I'm going to do. Along with my normal openings and traps videos, I'm going to try to do more and more with middle game tactics and strategies that I think will help improve everyone's game. And today we're going to be focusing on the f7 square. If you've seen any of my other videos, you know that in particular for black, for white it would be the f2 square, but for black the f7 square is a very vulnerable square, especially at the beginning. Later on in the game you're really looking for different things, but in the early and mid game you're definitely looking at the f7 square as a huge weakness for black. But I really want to, in this video, talk about when you should be attacking and when you shouldn't be, because a lot of people hear the f7 square is a weakness, so every game I play I just want to go at it. And you really need to understand that when you play chess, especially going into the middle game, a lot of what you're looking for in the middle game is determined by the opening that you play. So you may have an opening repertoire that you play that really does not suit you best to attack the f7 square, or your opponent may be playing a defense that's really not going to attack the f7 square and have good results. It's going to be blocking that f7 square. So that's what we are going to be looking at today. First thing you want to notice in the opening of a game is if you play e4, you're going to have more opportunities to attack your opponent's f7 square than you would if you play d4. Now why is that? And that's simply because when you play e4, your opponent, more times than not, now there are many different variations of chess, but a lot of times he's going to play a move similar to e5, or he wants to play e5 later on. Now from here it doesn't matter. Some players like to play knight to f3, some players immediately like to play bishop to c4. That's not really what I want to focus on. What I do want to focus on is it doesn't matter where we come out. As you can see, this e pawn for black is not protecting this f7 square. And from here, you're normally not going to see pawn to d5. You just don't see that very often. You may see pawn to d6 though if you're playing the Philidor defense. Then as you can see here, both of these pawns, d6 and e5, neither of these pawns are defending this pawn on f7. So now if we were to bring our bishop to c4, you can see right away that this light square bishop attacking this f7 square, we're going to have a very good attack on this however we want to proceed. But if we reverse it and look at pawn to d4, a lot of times black will respond with pawn to d5. Now as you can see, the big difference here, there's already one pawn here protecting this f7 square. You usually are going to be attacking the f7 square with your light square bishop. That's why in a lot of my videos you may hear that in early game the light square bishop is more powerful than the dark square bishop. Now later on I have made other videos on which bishops are better, but early on and in the middle game, a light square bishop is more powerful because he can attack the f7 square. But also keep in mind, a lot of times I open up with e4. So as you can see here, it doesn't really matter where white continues. Let's just continue with f3. It doesn't really matter. A lot of times you may see move from black similar to pawn to e6. Now as you can see, these may look similar, but as far as attacking the f7 square, they're very different. Now we have two pawns here on d5 and e6 that are both defending this f7 pawn. So it's going to be much harder for us to attack this f7 square, especially with our light square bishop. So keep in mind that although you always want to be attacking, in my opinion, and especially on the f7 square, it really depends on which opening both of you play. So if you're a d4 player for life, that's completely okay, but just keep in mind in the back of your head that f7 may not be your main focus for the rest of the game. Let's take a look at this example from white, and as you can see here, both sides have really just started to bring out some pawns into the game, and white has brought his bishop to c4, very common move for white. At the same time, you can see this light square bishop is attacking the f7 pawn. And really for the rest of the video, we're going to be talking about if the f7 square is a possibility to attack. Again, we've already seen that sometimes it's not right, and hopefully you can see in your own game when it's okay to attack the f7 square and when it's not. But from here, white really wants to continue his development. He really has one move that's out, and that's his bishop on c4. So he may bring his knight to f3. Very common move, development move at the same time. Bringing his knight to a central square where it can attack and defend the center. But from here, it's very important to notice that we're still attacking this f7 square. And if black's not careful, then we're going to run over him in the game. And so these are the things that you always want to look at. Because a lot of times from here, a black player will say, you know what? He brought his knight to f3. And what happens anytime you bring your knight to f3? Well, I'm going to bring my bishop to g4. Because we want to pin this knight down to this queen here. We can't move this knight anywhere or else we'll take the queen. But what black does not see here is that his f7 square is very weak, and we can bring our queen to b3, and we're now attacking this undefended b7 square, and at the same time we're doubly attacking this square here on f7. So we're going to win a pawn here, and depending on how black tries to continue, we may go up a lot more in material. So as you can see here, since we noticed that we were attacking this f7 square, we were already looking for black to make a mistake, and once he did, then we pounced on it. Take a look at this position from white. It's very, very important to notice that even though we're farther along in the middle game, and even though we haven't attacked this f7 square, and even though black has already castled, we still have our light square bishop on this a2 square, and it's still attacking this f7 square, and it's also pinning down this pawn to this king here. This is still a very, very strong attack, and it's always good to have if you see black has his pawns on d6 and e5. It's always important if you can have a light square bishop along this light diagonal to always be putting pressure on this f7 square, because you never know down the road if you can attack this square and he can't move, and you can just pin this down to the king, and then you'll really have a strong attack. From here, white has a lot of different options. One of the options that he has is he can bring his pawn to f4 and really start to attack. As you can see, black is kind of in a passive state. He has his pawns kind of in a nice little formation here. His bishops aren't very active, and his pieces on the back row, much like ours, aren't doing much. But we can open up the game here with pawn to f4, and if he captures, then as you can see here, we can bring our rook into the action at rook to f4, and now we have two attackers against this f7 square. At the same time, if we wanted to, we could next bring our queen to the h5 square, putting another attacker on that f7. After we do that, we can also double up and bring our other rook to the f file, and this is going to be a very strong attack. But more importantly, you really want to focus that this bishop on a2 really allows us to start this attack. It would be almost futile if we just started throwing all our major pieces at this f7 square if we didn't have the support of our bishop on a2. So keep this in mind, even at the very beginning of the game. If you throw your bishop out here to c4 and you can't do an attack, if you can have this entire diagonal open, it's still very good. Even after the black castles, the black king castles, it's still going to be a very strong attack for you. So this has been the first video. There's going to be a few squares that I did want to go over on how to attack them and what you should look for. Very easy to know when you should be attacking the f7 square and when you shouldn't be. So when you should be just looking out for things, be looking out for when you should be attacking, what pieces you should be throwing at them, and just always keep this in the back of your mind. So hope you guys enjoyed this video, a little middle game tactic for all of you trying to improve your middle game, and just think of a few more things to look at while you're playing chess. The more things that you can see in chess, the better you will become as a chess player. So if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. I'm going to have a lot more of these videos coming out. In the near future, I'll be having a lot more videos on different squares and how to attack them. But if you haven't checked out the website, be sure and do that, www.thechesswebsite.com, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.